stay on screen. And next up, I would like to invite Mr. Eddie Pai, General Partner of Ascent Ventures, Mr. Adrian Ho, VP Investment of Altara Ventures, and Mr. Nang Nguyen, Head of Operations, Tomo Chain. Next up, we're gonna actually have a panel session, and let me just turn on my camera as well, so I can see everyone and everyone can see me. Okay, so we have the four speakers on the panel session. Today's topic is about the ever-changing evolution of the Vietnam startup ecosystem. Do we have other speakers here? Yes. Hey, hi, Eddie. Okay, I see you here. All right, thanks for joining the panel. It's just going to be a short one, just to give an overall view to our budding new founders what to expect in the coming decade. Eddie, I'm going to start with you, right? Since you are sort of one of our pioneer VCs way back in 2012, 2013, when you were 12 years old, right? So without revealing your age. All right, if you could spend a couple of minutes and basically give an overview of what has changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bobby, for inviting me to join. I have been a big fan of what TFI has been doing for the startup ecosystem in Vietnam for years, even before I got started when I was 12, says Bobby. It was early folks like TFI that has helped build the opportunities that we see today. And it's particularly interesting when TFI started, like back in 2012. It's not like that was the start of the startup ecosystem, but for some years before that, there was hope with false starts. There was the emergence of the internet here in Vietnam. There were some of the first VC funds here, like IDG Ventures Vietnam and DFJ Vita Capital, and even CVCs like CyberAgent, that were seeding teams when there was very little market, and teams that had virtually no prior technology entrepreneurship experience, had almost no mentors that they could call out to or rely on. And so, yeah, it was really tough for many years, even through 2012. Some folks saw success anyway, like V&G, obviously, and a lot of the bellwether companies that we see today, they got started more than 10 years ago. But for the most part, it was really hard for entrepreneurs to get started and venture investors to find opportunities that were compelling to them. There were no investors here in Vietnam really in 2012, right? The earlier funds had largely deployed, and the regional funds were kind of hopping in and out once a year just to see what was going on. But in the couple of years after that, 2012 to 2014, what was like a desert started to become, you started to see the sprouts of something, an oasis. Like entrepreneurs, more and more of them were popping up, and they were starting to connect with each other. Early angel investors who maybe made some money in their early opportunities started to try to pay it forward. Super important for an ecosystem. And the digital market, digital economy basically started blowing up. Facebook was obviously in 2012 kind of opened up, and e-commerce behavior started to pick up finally. So, before 2012, it was less than $100 million of e-commerce activity per year. After that, it's changed substantially. So both the economic opportunity and the teams going for that opportunity just hit an inflection point. So really exciting to get started then, but it's still a slog. And so early VCs like us and other players, the government, giving endorsements and starting to make it easier for entrepreneurs to get started. It really, I think, has helped change the game. And so now we've seen, funding activity 10x year over year, or it's not year over year, 10x now versus 10 years ago. E-commerce opportunities particularly growing. The big change in the last 2 years, or let's say 2 to 4 years, in my opinion, is the shift from catch up to jump ahead. So early tech entrepreneurs here in Vietnam, as well as other emerging ecosystems, the first things that are built are the obvious gaps to be filled, the things that any initial digital economy needs. You need basic e-commerce, you need basic payments, you need news and media sites, very what I call Web 1.0 or 2.0. But then after that, what happens? That's where the really exciting stuff comes into play. You get deeper solutions for Vietnam and similar markets, or as we know with the blockchain activity recently, you have the opportunity to just take a leadership position in an open space. So I think many of us who have been involved, including Bobby and other folks on this call, have known generically that Vietnamese talent have a lot of potential to not just build for Vietnam, but to go beyond that. And we are increasingly seeing that manifested today. Axie Infinity, obviously a story that everybody knows here, is the most explicit example of that, but they're far from the only ones. I mean, Kyber Network earlier on, and Elsa, and Trust and Social, and so many cool companies are coming out now. And I hope we will be able to continue to do that because we are not weighed down by the old infrastructure of Web 1.0. We don't have dominant companies that are sucking out innovation. It's still a very scrappy environment, and so I'm really excited to see through the years the new and interesting and risky opportunities that are being built. So that's my kind of view on where things are, and I think this is going to play out for at least another 10 years. At some point, Vietnam might be like a Singapore, old and stodgy and whatever, but I think that's a while off. We're still very young and very energetic here.
Okay, let me take a note. Singapore, old and stodgy. Okay, thanks for that. All right, Quang, you've been with us for the last 10 years, being one of the pioneer graduate founders startup. Just to recap a little bit of what Eddie has said earlier. So essentially, prior to us coming in, it was more of the how should I say, the Web 1.0, right? Whereby everything is powered by the internet, but it's more on the website, right? And then TFI sort of started back in 2011, and that kind of signaled the mobile age, and that's where I think Appota took the most advantage out of that. And over the last 10, 11 years since they've launched Appota, they've gone through a few iterations as well. So Quang, if you could spend a couple of minutes and talk about the changes that you have seen and experienced as you build your company to where it is today.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Agree with Eddie. There's a lot of things changed during 10 years. So the first thing we all see that everybody, next using PC, laptop into using more mobile phone, right? Smartphone is definitely a huge change. We create another opportunity. When we start a business at the beginning, we do focus on the mobile internet user. That is the focus only on the mobile user. And we see that there's another opportunity there, but we do the digital content where we're strong. We had knowledge about that, experience about that, technology to support on. We can do the distribution and publishing the content through our platform and partnership with business that and build up the ecosystem together. Then we see a lot of changing during the time when we only doing on the entertainment, digital entertainment side, but we also oversee other things also coming up from e-commerce, from fintech side, from infrastructure, and also like the Uber Line and Grab, your economic sharing. So a lot of startups from Vietnam side have been growing for years. And what I see that everybody also think about mobile first, right? Mobile first, easy to tap into the user, reaching to the user, quickly to make the payment. And that creates a huge opportunity for a lot of mobile application startup base. They just do the application first, don't do anything else. then they tap not just the user in Vietnam, not just only the market in Vietnam, had a chance to broaden their market size to go global, extending to the different countries using different language. So when we do that, when we do not just game publishing, advertising, digital payment for the internet side, we also see changing in the different sector of Vietnam startup landscape. And we see that, we saw that there were so many of them not think about just doing in Vietnam. That is a good thing, you know, Bobby. It's really good thing when people think about Vietnam, it's just home base, not just the destination market for all of them. And now we see when we had a good developer resource and tech resource as well. And the startup starting to adapt new technology, new chain. You can see blockchain side, mobile gaming doing global. So not just only the blockchain, to add on to the Eddie, gaming studio in Vietnam for the casual game, also one of the top and best in the world right now. You know that last year, top 10 of the best casual game company in Google Play, around 3 to 4 of them from Vietnam. Amalo, OneSoft, ABI, couple of them, staying here, doing the business silently, but we don't know that. We got not tapping in. And we see a lot of that big guy coming into Vietnam. During 2010, 11, 12, we see that Facebook, Google, Apple is not doing much business here, but now is a lot of things they entering in. And also the Chinese internet company also entering into Vietnam market silently. I mean silently because they are not fully notice about that. Then we see a lot of capital flowing, and we see a lot of supporting, not just from the community of the startup related, but also from the government as well. They listen, they also create and changing about the regulation and support for that. Then the evolution of the startup during the time, I can divide what I see in three areas, period. The first period from 2010 to 2015. The second is before blockchain booming, and the third one is blockchain. So you can see during that the second wave from 15 to 18 is kind of like people moving into the trending like social commerce, e-commerce, economic sharing, and also mobile application for that of SaaS business and niche market, more startup growing up together. And the third wave now is from during 2019 and also until now is more blockchain startup also coming from Vietnam side. And yeah, it's not focused on Vietnam market, only go global. And I hope that in the future, when the next wave maybe happen, with a good ecosystem, with a lot of support from that, a lot of VC now only from Vietnam side, also from outside engineering region, also pay attention to. I think there's a more chance for startup Vietnam to become more unicorn, not just feel like right now. I believe we'll be in next 10 years, we'll have around 10 unicorn more coming, maybe more. And we try.
Great stuff. Thank you. Yeah. So in the whole, in a broader context, I think the startup ecosystem in Vietnam started kind of late, as what Eddie has pointed out. It was probably around 2015, 2016 that we saw a drastic uptick, and what you would like to call as a J curve, right? We did see multiple increases in terms of funding over the years, up to even the last two years, right? Where we are expected to suffer, but apparently not so. And to join in the fray of all these new happenings, there have been a lot of new funds that started in the region. One of which is Altara Ventures, Adrian, and you have been really busy in Vietnam, even though you have not come in yet. So a few words from you on how you see the outlook for Vietnam.
Hey, thanks, Bobby. Thanks so much for inviting me to join this conversation, right? First of all, congratulations on the 10-year anniversary. And as you said, right, Altara Ventures really very interested to come into this market. We're really bullish. And I'm really excited to be woven into the fabric and to help to support this ecosystem, even though I'm doing it out of Singapore for now. But once the borders open up, we flying over as an old stodgy Singaporean, but really trying to meet, all the participants here and really help as an offshore investor. I think, really would echo what Eddie said, is maturing of the ecosystem, and then also what Quang said, right? Proliferation across different services. I think the way we see it and why Vietnam is so attractive for us as offshore investors, really that de-risking happened, in terms of labor and capital, right? Everyone knows about tech talent in Vietnam, but really, it's moved so much more from just offshoring of back-end services to really, capabilities in different tech domains, right? AI, blockchain, etc., gaming, etc., right? And then also in terms of capital, right? We see, deal making was 50 million maybe in 5 years ago, but last year is almost, 2 billion, right? And so, the speed of, growth of companies and unicorns also has developed, right? So, BNG started in 2004, really became unicorn 10 years later, 2015, that's when it started. But then you see, BN Live and then also XC, shorter and shorter spans to develop unicorns. And I think it would really echo Quang. I think going forward, we'll see more and more coming out of this country because of the de-risking that's happened in labor and capital and also confluence with technology. So that really drives our enthusiasm, right, for Vietnam. And really why we like to come and support the ecosystem, participate, and really help them to take it to the next level. I think when the natural progression of the tech ecosystem happens like it is in Vietnam, where initially you really just slowly trying to find your feet before the 2015 period. And in 2015 to 2020, you actually start to develop own leaders, right, within the country, these unicorns. And then I think, in fintech as well, you have Momo, probably unicorn now with the latest round. And then in e-commerce, Tiki, maybe not quite there yet, but almost there. You have your own leaders, and that will spawn the new generation, right? And together with opportunities where I think Vietnam can become a leader, for example, in gaming, where the gaming language really transcends all boundaries, right? And Vietnam has the talent and also the opportunity and the market to do that, right? You can become regional leaders and really become a very, very important market, right? Southeast Asia. That I think underpins a lot of the thesis we have at Altara, and also why we're so enthusiastic and bullish on the country.
Thank you, Adrian. Mr. Nang Nguyen, head of operations for Tomo Chain. Just a little brief history. Tomo Chain is one of the original pioneer blockchains companies. They've done an initial coin offering way back in 2016, 2017, along with a couple other companies. Yes, blockchain development has kind of dropped off a little bit, but over the last 2 years, it just took off like wildfire. Mr. Nang, can you comment on a few words on what you guys are doing and moving forward, what's exciting for the industry? Okay, I guess he must have dropped off. All right, never mind. Let me move on. Okay, so XC has been mentioned twice, which obviously has taken the NFT blockchain space by storm. And back in 2018, in one of the programs that Eddie used to run, they invested in XC. But back then, obviously nobody really saw what was coming. And so, yeah, Eddie, so what were you thinking then?
Sounds familiar.
That was a huge that was a huge score, by the way. So yeah, let us learn something from you.
Thanks. It's still early in their journey, so we all the entrepreneurs on the call know that it's gonna be ups and downs along the way. But yeah, we as many venture investors do, we primarily look at two things when we invest, especially at the earliest stage. One is the team. Team is most important across any stage, but when there's no little business, maybe even no product, the team is the best you can look at. And you're looking at a variety of factors like agility, ability to iterate, as was discussed earlier today, ability to attract great talent, and so on and so forth. And then the other is the market opportunity, the sheer size of it. And a lot of startups we come across are targeting some sort of existing market, some sort of new niche or a new way to capture share. But on occasion, we come across opportunities that are just way out there. Sorry, one moment. Trở lại 30 phút được không? Đang nói chuyện. Yeah, there we go. So my cleaner came. So we came when we met the Axie Infinity team. We found both of those. We found a team that on paper might be seen as strange. You had a person who took 7 years to finish school, took a break along the way to start a company that ended up being venture funded, and then was an engineer. When you speak with him, he's very quiet. You know, he's the stereotypical entrepreneur that the Valley likes to back, is the kind of large, boisterous, larger than life kind of person. Jum is a very quiet and thoughtful person, which is different. We had another guy, one of his co-founders was a shoutcaster for esports, and before that he worked at the public security office in Norway. So very, very strange collection of people. But when we started talking with them and understanding how they viewed the space, we understood that there was something more there, a deep understanding of what they thought the world is, but also more importantly, what the world could be and their role in building that. Yeah, just all kinds of things about how there was a lot more than what met the surface. And as we started to do research on what NFTs could do in different spaces, we came to a lot of the same conclusions, like that NFTs represented a different form of, and perhaps in some cases a more robust form of application of blockchain technology than just cryptocurrencies or what have you. But it wouldn't necessarily apply everywhere. There would be a staging, and gaming seemed to be the first obvious place. So we ultimately decided to invest alongside some other folks in their first round. But I mean, there are some things that are unique about Web3, but a lot of things are similar. Regardless of whether you're building in Web3 or Web2, you need a great team. You need to be able to attract and retain great talent. You need to be able to iterate quickly. You need to be able to mobilize capital and so on. So we understood that there were some needs at Axie, and the founders also felt the same way. And so we brought them into our program, worked really closely with them for a few months. They were the most active and engaged team. So I guess for investors who are looking at the companies today, you might want to ask Bobby and the TFI team who were the most active founders. And yeah, they really just, you know, we gave them a little bit of guidance and they really ran from there. So long story short, that's basically how we thought about that company, just like we look at others. And sometimes, you know, sometimes such startups just make it, and often they don't. But that's okay. That's the risk that we're taking to help cool, unique, wacky teams try to change their world. And if just one or two out of every 10 are able to do that successfully, that is a win for us. So I'll close by saying, because I could talk about Axie for hours, and I'd rather get to the pitches soon. But the last thing I'd say is, when Andreessen invested in Axie and made their announcement, they closed their announcement post with a line that was something like, "The Axie Infinity team has created an earthquake that has forever changed the world." And I think it's a very large and lofty statement, but I also think it's true. as we have seen in the months since, as I think we'll see in the years since. And I don't think they're the only ones who can do that here in Vietnam. So yeah, closing thought there.
Cool. So we have an earthquake in Vietnam, and then let's see whether can Appota create some volcanic effects as well. You guys are in gaming, right? So I'm sure this space is of interest to you. So maybe you can share for about a minute as you are running short on time. And of course, I don't expect you to share any industry secret, but what's your interest in this new space of GameFi?
Well, that definitely exciting. We like the traditional guy doing the traditional way. I mean, that is not traditional, but let's say it's a non-crypto. Then we see the revenue per year, even BNG for mobile game globally, even and around 200 million US dollar. But in a year, and take 14 years, 15 years to build up something like from branding, technology, platform, everything. Then boom, crypto just few months can be reaching up to the 200 million total payment value running through between the user to the user and through the platform. And it's not just one game; it's a lot of game. But every time it's same neither in the non-crypto way. Before we had the good game, high quality, then casual happens, then MMORPG, deep never, big scan, 3D, everything. That is evolution of the game genre time by time, and the way people doing the monetization with the business model is different. Now is the time for GameFi, game and finance together, and help the user, and also still have the player play for fun, play just for fun, because game is too fun, right? Then game to enjoy. Now game can earn. That also open for the huge opportunity and broaden more and more people consider game can become a tool for them to make a living. Then that make the huge markets as well. I believe there is more evolutions in the future with the blockchain. Metaverse is one thing. Next step from that. Then don't worry. What we see is that the trend may be going down a little bit, but it's still there. The game business is like that. Every time a new company launches a new game, everybody's saying, well, this is good, this is not good. Always not good is always there. But see, you can see that the battle royale from the PUBG, when they announced that, where the shooting game, survival mode, then Epic launched another one, which is much more successful. But then the Garena launching Free Fire is also successful as well. So it will evolve time by time and tapping the moment of the user where they need something to consume for play and for fun first. And now play to earn is something element can add in and have the more broaden niche market and loyalty user increasing from that point. Doing game almost 10 years, we're still doing game. And now we're also exploring to working with the GameFi or studio in Vietnam, have them incubate and building up with our resource, also connecting with our network as well, consulting from the way that not just only before you listing the game, after you launching the game is more important. Launching the game, keep the game long-lasting. Now the way I see doing is really important doing game. In the end of the day, games still need the user, and the game still need the way you understand how to publishing the game. It's not just the first step of the time you're raising fund after the IDO and you have the money, but you're taking long way more to complete the game and launching that. For the GameFi project, what I see is as long as you launching the game successfully, launching officially, people can play that. Is the game can be considered that is a complete first phase. The second phase is how nurturing the community and keep they staying with you, so that you can create a sustainable business in the future. And then definitely some of the game doing that with very patient, and they are successful. And some of them you can see this is not a bad thing, is not good as well. And your Chronaps at the beginning, right after the IDO. So that's it. We seeing that big guy from the game industry also coming. It's not. I'm not talking about like just small team. I'm talking about like the game come to us, Netmarble, Tencent, couple big guy also. When they entering in this kind of game fight, it's huge change because they are truly game maker. They are truly game developer. Can do, and with a lot massive resource, they can create a huge thing to change almost of the landscape of that. But now they are not yet because it's still in early state or some couple of things to moving, or maybe they not find the good time for them to join in. And yeah, I believe GameFi is one of the part of the blockchain. It will not go anywhere. It's still there. Maybe it's no down, but it's still there, and it's still a part of that. Together with DeFi, together with Metaverse, together with other stuff incoming from the blockchain, because it's a new world, and people had a lot of things to create a new chain as well. So that's what we can see. And yeah, we're also venturing in blockchain right now, starting.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. All right. So for a few years, startup founders or startups, have set, on the pedestal of, something innovating, disrupting. And I just feel that today, in comparison to all these blockchain startups, we are almost like an SME, So, so for venture fund like yours, Altara, right? Do you also look into the blockchain space? And although probably in terms of the actual investment into the specific products, it may not be as convenient, but how would you look at to investing into a blockchain-based company or blockchain game space company?
Yeah, I think that's the big question, right? I think the opportunity of the new world is there, but how do you take advantage of that, and be very prudent in your approach, right? For risk reward is very important, because right now we see, early adoption of the blockchain into things like gaming, NFTs, DeFi. I think these are maybe the key ones at this point of time, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there in digital and entertainment content and distribution, I think, which is really what things like Appota are looking into. And then models that are coming up that's proven, right? Following Axie's success, right, in play to earn, where really I think Eddie was alluding to the founders really discovered that consumers wanted that. It was a chance to earn money, especially through COVID. There is a short story about how they really discovered small villagers who really liked this, and then that spread within the community, and that's how it really gained traction. So I think that there are business models and spaces which blockchain is more attuned to at this point of time. There's still quite a bit of hype, I would say, and risk, right? Because barriers to entry are really low. It's not that difficult. I wouldn't say, to really start coming up with your own tokens and then trying to sell that, right? And then potentially like back in the craze, ICO craze 2017, 2018, right? So we need that level of maturity still to come, although there are opportunities in the niche spaces. So really the investors have to be, caveat emptor. You have to be very careful, but I think there are opportunities in all these spaces. And with Web3, the allure is that there's an innovation in property rights, right? But that's really what's driving the foundations, right? Which means that, when you, for example, NFTs, right? You create property rights around it, it becomes a digital asset. And then you can layer on services and businesses, entire foundations of that on top of it, right? So in the physical world, we have car ownership. And this I heard from I can't remember where now, some other podcasts, and it made a lot of sense to me. You have car ownerships, and then it spawned like, on-demand services, Grabs and all that, right? And then now with like things like NFTs, you spawn trading of digital assets, social communities, and subsequently a lot of products and services that can add value. So that's what's driving it, right? And I'll say in a lot of different sectors, in service industries, if you look at where you can feature in Web3, right? Potentially is NFTs, because these are like your new vouchers, right, in the digital world that enable you to, create incentives for your communities, right, and drive adoption and usage, right? So communities, marketplaces, things like that, where you can have reward points, loyalty systems, right? Even in education, healthcare, it can be proof of participations, right? And then I think maybe somewhere a little later will be areas where it's more centralized in nature still, things like fintech, where there's a lot of physical touch points and other elements of regulatory or cultural ways of working. But I think there's already a lot of blockchain innovation in fintech as well, right? Domains of lending, borrowing, investing, exchanges, governance, and these will spawn opportunities in the future. So I would say at this point, really on the consumer front, NFTs seem to be driving it, but I would think of it as the new reward system, and how that plays to your advantage in the services industry, and whether that's something that's investable, given a lot of the risks out there, right? Still have to take into account that this is very new technology. Yeah, I think pretty much a lot of network effects will come out from blockchain technology and Web3, and so you can look at across sectors and across different business models in all these sectors that I've touched upon.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you very much.
If I may jump in real quick, I actually have to hop off shortly. I have an appointment at 10:15 that I have to run to, but I just want to say I agree with what's just been said, and to the Axie story, it is, and also I guess to the earlier comment about doing things different and excellent. We didn't invest in Axie Infinity because of the game itself. We invested in it because of the model they introduced, but more importantly, because of the infrastructure they were building around enabling NFT gaming more generally. Their sidechain, their wallet, their marketplace, and certain other things that they'll be rolling out in the next year or two. So I would encourage folks in any space they're in, but especially blockchain, don't just say, oh yeah, it's easy to create a game or whatever. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a private sale and then a public launch. Like, anybody can do that. Some people might get lucky, but there's going to be a lot of failure and a lot of pain, and we're seeing a little bit of the drag now. Think longer term. I think that's one of the things that was really special about the Axie team, just how clearly they saw how things would play out in the 10-year horizon. Things have played out a little faster than any expected, but generally speaking, yeah, they're thinking about it deeply. Deep thinking is, in an age of Twitter, deep thinking is maybe lost in the noise, but I think there's a lot of value in that still. So yeah, just plus oneing a lot of what the other folks have said. And
thank you very much.
Apologies.
All right.
Bye.
No worries. Thank you very much to all these speakers here, Eddie, Quang, and Adrian. In the interest of time, we'll end the panel session. Thanks for the insights. Hopefully all you founders have learned something, the tech founders and the blockchain founders.